So before that, shall we just kickstart the meeting, sir? Yeah, good morning to all of you, and thanks for all the panelists who have taken time off from their schedule to join us for this webinar. We have Mr. Madhukar, Mr. Gururaj, and Mr. Tommy Thomas, who would be enlightening us on the opportunities that is available in the post scenario. So I think that would be a good interaction for all of us. In fact, just before starting off with this thing, let me just enlighten you as to why we have kickstarted this webinars, because this is the only way to connect with all of us. And this would be a great educational tool as well as awareness program, so that we do not lose touch with the ground realities. So this is the only way to communicate with each other. So in that regard, Ramco Cements has started off with a series of webinars on various aspects of cement, concrete, and construction related factors. So in fact, we had already three webinars, one on blended cement and concrete, and the other on risk management, which was taken by Dr. Premanand Shanoy, again from Association of Consulting Civil Engineers. And we had Professor from IIT Bhubaneswar, Dr. Pasla, who was talking about blended cement and concrete. So the feedback that we have got from most of the construction professionals is encouraging, and they have all told us that we should continue with this webinar, because this kind of webinar would be more customized for them, and this way of connecting with each one of us. So there has been a good response from all of them. And Ramco's association with consulting civil engineers has been over the years. In fact, we have been associated with Bangalore, Mangalore, Mysore events, especially in Karnataka, for most of the major events, especially the Engineers Day celebrations. We have been there for over the years, and it has been really a learning experience for us, because being a part of the construction industry, we were also able to understand the requirements, and as well as it created a platform for Ramco as well to interact with the construction professionals. So that was a good learning experience for us. So with that brief background of the webinar and today's this thing, let me just hand over this to Mr. Madhukar for introducing the panelists, as well as taking forward this discussion. And all of you can see the chat box. The chat box is there, so you can keep posting your questions, and we would be taking maximum number of questions during the session. So this is going to be very interactive. Over to you, Mr. Madhukar.
Thank you, Anil, for that opening remarks. Good morning, everybody. It's my privilege to have been invited to be part of this webinar. It's a wonderful initiative by Ramco Cements and ACCE. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce today's panelists. We have a very distinguished panelist today, Mr. Gururaj. Mr. Gururaj is Chairman and Managing Director of INNOTECT Engineering Consult Private Limited, a Bangalore-based consultancy organization providing premier services in the construction industry. He has got more than 50 years of industry experience in the structural engineering field, providing valuable and innovative designs to the construction industry. He holds a master's degree in civil engineering from Indian Institute of Science, and he also holds an international patent for invention of bracketed flat plate systems. From 2012 to till date, Mr. Gururaj is leading the company with the dual role of consultant and managing the company to set international standards in design offices, and with adaptability, innovation, standardization, and teamwork. He is a mentor and technical advisor for all projects, providing ideas for the structural concepts, monitoring the structural designs with respect to quality and costing, providing technical solutions and suggestions to various site-related and construction issues. His experience literally is a Pandora of achievements, and I believe in this 50 years of experience, he has seen literally all kinds of projects. He engaged in service several innovative and complex structures like Embassy Tech Lake Terraces, Bangalore, Phoenix projects at Hyderabad, Sands Infra Kochi, Marina Skies Hyderabad, and Bhartiya City Bangalore. He is the founder president of Potential Service Consultants Private Limited in 1987, started with a clear vision to establish a consulting engineering organization with creativity, quality, and professional spirit for structural and electromechanical design services, leading to pinnacle of glory since its inception till 2010. Some of the outstanding projects done by Potential Service during this period are Campus for Microsoft at Hyderabad, Mindspace Hyderabad, Embassy Golf Business Park Bangalore, Ramco Hyderabad, TCS Siruseri, Manyata Tech Park Bangalore, Prestige Shantiniketan Bangalore, ITC Gardenia, Ritz-Carlton, Mantri Mall, Phoenix Mall, Cisco Bangalore, Brigade Mall, Brigade Sheraton, Volkswagen factory at Pune, and many more. He's having the credit of designing many residential, commercial, hospitals, hotels, malls, and industrial projects all over India. Before starting his own organization, he worked with one of the top international consultants, Kuwait Engineers Office, Kuwait, for about 10 years between 76 and 86, and as a senior design engineer with CMAC Consulting Engineers between 70 and 76. His outstanding contribution to the field of concrete, he from Singapore and Malaysia for his innovation bracketed flat plate system. He's a pioneer in usage of waffle slab structural systems and for multi-story commercial structures and podium slabs. He is also partial precast slab and low-cost housing projects. Use of concrete with various innovative slab systems like voided slab system and waffle slab for spans ranging 12 meters to 22 meters. He's designed many challenging multi-storied buildings in Kuwait, Middle East, and with fair-faced concrete, both hammered concrete, fluted concrete, wall panels, precast, pre-stressed elements, car park structures, etc. Since 1972, he is instrumental in the usage of welded structural steel fabrics as reinforcement. He is a pioneer in usage of Siporex slab as roofing for industrial structures since 1972. Designing concrete structures from the last 50 years progressively, adapting to high-rise composite steel structure, precast steel structures, and the like. A brief about his education. He's got a Master of Engineering, as I told you about, from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 1969. He's got a Bachelor of Engineering in Civil from Bangalore University in 1967. His professional membership and awards, his company, INNOTECT, was awarded first place in high-rise structures for excellence in concrete structures by American Concrete Institute. Member of American Concrete Institute, life member of Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, India, Institute for Research, Development and Training and Construction Management, Instruct, India, Institute of Engineers, Institute for Steel Development and Growth, and Indian Concrete Institute. Obtained an international patent for bracketed flat slab system and is a pioneer in use of waffle slab for multi-storied commercial and car parking structures. He was awarded the Outstanding Concrete Engineer 2018 by Indian Concrete Institute, Karnataka chapter. He also got the first place in high-rise category for the Embassy Lake Terraces project. It was awarded by the American Concrete Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. GURURAJ. Our next panelist today is Mr. Tommy Thomas. Tommy Thomas represents GINA Engineering Private Limited, a Bangalore-based construction company. It's a private limited company of contracting company established in 1964, which means it's more than 55 years old. The business has been going on since last 15 years, and their name is synonymous with very large construction projects in Bangalore. They are presently, the company executes projects in the southern states, particularly in and around Bangalore, comprising commercial, institutional, industrial, hospitality, corporate buildings, as well as residential complexes. Mr. Thomas joined GINA Engineering Company Private Limited as a site engineer in the year 1996, and later was promoted as project in charge until he worked there until he became an executive director in the year 2002. He was instrumental in as a management representative for the company in obtaining ISO 9001-2000 certificate. As a management representative of the company, he was able to bring in changes in existing procedures and systems, which has helped the company to grow from a mere 3.5 million rupees turnover to a 25 million turnover organization today. With the dynamic outlook towards future of GINA Group, I think there is an error in that. It's not 25 million. I think it should be 200 crores, if I remember right. I think that was what was being mentioned. So with dynamic outlook towards the future of GINA Group, he was instrumental in expanding its operations to other cities in southern India. With its future vision on an initiative, GINA Group has ventured into real estate development, and he heads the group company GINA Developers Private Limited as its managing director. He was also responsible for introducing construction ERP system in the company, which has helped in integrating all project sites and central resources into a uniform functional system. He's a fellow member of Builders Association of India, Bangalore. He's a member of CREDAI Bangalore. And some of the following landmark projects were executed by the company under his leadership. Various projects for Mr. Biocon and Finjin International Limited for the last 23 years. Lido Mall at MG Road, Bangalore, Great Lake Institute of Management at Chennai, AMR Tech Park, Bangalore, desalination plant for NTPCL at Chennai, Cipla Limited at Bangalore, Jindal Aluminium, Bangalore, AO Smith Water Heaters, Bangalore, Bangalore International Exhibition Center at Bangalore. Today, he heads the company in its quest for leadership as the helm of affairs of the project, as a managing director, and he's been heading this company since 2010. Here is Mr. Tommy Thomas. Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity also to introduce Mr. Anil Pillai, who is the moderator for today's program. And Mr. Anil Pillai brings about 25 years of experience to the industry. He's a civil engineer. He graduated from BITS Pilani, and he's got an executive MBA from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. He's got an MBA in operations management from IGNOU. He also holds a PG DCM from Delhi Productivity Council. He's a member of Institution of Engineers, and he's a life member of Indian Management Association. He's also an alternative member representing Ramco Cements Limited in the following committees of the Bureau of Indian Standards: Cement and Concrete Sectional Committee CED2, Cement Barcelona and Cement Additive Subcommittee CED 2.1, keynote speaker in many conferences organized by professional engineering bodies, and conducted numerous programs for construction professionals in India, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. He's presented many papers in the area of concrete technology and usage of fly ash in concrete. He's got presented papers at Kumamoto University, Japan, University of Wollongong in Dubai, fly ash in concrete, quality and ecological perspective, published Built Expressions Volume 2 in 2013, Concrete Performance Criteria and Practical Implications, published in Bulletin of ACCE, Association of Consulting, Volume 1, Volume 11, Jan 2013. He also got another record to his credit. He's published a paper on fly ash in concrete, quality and ecological perspective, published by All India Cement Seminar 2012, held at Pune during 2012. Cement Marketing in India, Challenges and Opportunities, presented at International Conference on Technology and Business Management, University of Wollongong in Dubai in 2012. Sustainability and Advances in Concrete Technology, participated in the International Workshop at Kozhikode during 2012. Quality in Concrete Concepts versus Reality, published in Bulletin ACCA in January 2012. Durability in Concrete Structures, type of cement and sorry.
It's okay, sir. I think we'll start off. A number of papers are there. So let me also take.
The list is pretty endless and very impressive. I suppose you should put this on the web page so that people.
Thank you so much, sir.
There's a lot of effort. Yep.
Take the opportunity of introducing Mr. Madhukar, who has taken the initiative to start off with this webinar. In fact, it was his idea. He consulted all of us and the professionals as well, and he has got number of questions also on WhatsApp group. based on which he has designed this particular webinar. Thanks for your initiative, and let me also introduce Mr. Madhukar. He's a graduate civil engineer with over 30 years of experience in all types of construction projects, both in India as well as abroad. In fact, he specializes in project management, and he is the MD and CEO of Potential Project Management Managers Private Limited. In fact, project management itself has been such a challenge in most of the projects. And I am sure that he would be able to throw more light on this area, and he is an expert in this area, and he has executed a number of projects. His approach is a holistic approach to project management, and he is, in fact, when I was looking at his background, he is having expertise in varied fields, ranging from project management to software development to technology management. Most of these areas which are critical in today's scenario, because when you look at technology management, software development, I think that is going to be very crucial, and I am sure that he is having those skills. And apart from that, he has worked in all types of construction projects, ranging from high-rise buildings, tunnels, underground MRTs, expressways, mega malls, convention centers, industries, offices, commercial space, world-class airports. I mean, having project management consultancy in varied areas, as well as with his varied skills, I am sure that he would be able to enlighten us, and he is also one of the moderate for today's program, and he should be able to throw more light on this along with other experienced panelists. Thank you for being here, and thanks for the wonderful introduction of all the panelists. And let me go over to Mr. Madhukar to kickstart the meeting itself, because many of the participants are getting restless to start off the meeting. So over to you, Madhukar ji, for the questions that has to be posed.
My first question today is to Mr. GURURAJ, who is our distinguished panelist today. Sir, can you tell us about your association with the ACC over the last many years and the role it has played in the construction industry? And as a follow-up question, I would also like to ask you on you being a very successful first-generation entrepreneur with more than 45 years of experience. Tell us, were you prepared for something like this?
Thank you, Madhukar, for an elaborate introduction. And thanks for Ramco and ACC for being inviting me to be as a panelist and throw some light onto the present situation. First of all, I should congratulate Association of Consulting Civil Engineers for having completed 26 years of its existence, and they have done immense service to the civil engineering industry. And there were many eminent personalities leading the ACC, and if at all the organization ACC is being run on a massive scale all over India, is because of these personalities and their efforts that has gone into making this association a success. Associated with ACC from 1980s, late 1980s, and I was a treasurer at some point of time, and was able to organize certain seminars, etc., and contributed something to grow with ACC. Coming to the important thing which we are still missing out from ACC is the engineer's bill, which I think at some point of time has to happen, and all my support to ACC if this bill has to be taken up further. Coming to the second point, second question, which Mr. Madhukar put it across to me, is were you prepared for this kind of situation? I would say no. We are not prepared. I think nobody had any idea of this kind of situation we are in. How about the action? Action, yes, we were very fast enough, very quick enough to take action and make some things happen. On the first instance of knowing something is going to happen across the world, on 19th of March, we decided that all our staff who are away from Bangalore has to go back to their places, who are in PGs, who are staying as independent guest houses, etc. We asked them to pack up on the evening of 19th and go back to their places safely. So one of the most, I think, feelings which we have got is our staff is safe in their native places. Second decision we took between the 19th and the 22nd was to see that we establish a system wherein people can work from home. So within the 3-4 days, we try to manage that all of the staff were able to work from home who are in Bangalore. In fact, we hired some PCs to be provided to the staff to work from home and also increase their bandwidth and accessibility to internet. So we were slightly prepared when we took action to see that people started working from home. The third point is we made arrangements to work from home, which is a new concept in our industry. I think nobody was used to this kind of work from home. Most of the staff who were also in Bangalore were directly connected to our server and were required to work from home as and when they're able to do it. So this was where I think we started off before 25th. I hope I have answered Mr. Madhukar's question.
So thank you, sir. Thanks. I think the underlying principle there was a swift reaction, taking immediate action, effective action is what I could gather. Our next question is Mr. Tommy Thomas. Sir, your company is in business for the last 50 years, more than 50 years, as we could make out. Tell us how this situation has affected you. And, I'm sure you would not have come across this kind of situation in your company. Please tell us, how do you perceive this and what actions have you taken?
Before I start, I would like to thank Ramco Simmons and the panelists who are here, eminent panelists, Mr. Madhukar and GURURAJ sir. Madhukar sir is a well-known project management company he runs in Bangalore, and GURURAJ sir, as you all know, his name is synonymous in the industry, but he is not just Mr. GURURAJ. He is the Guruji for all of us in the construction industry, and I'm very humbled and very touched to be part of this panelist. Yeah, coming to the question, yes, we are in the construction industry for last 55 odd years. I think I should start with saying that the world has changed from the day the outbreak of coronavirus, and equally our lives have changed. Coming to the challenges the construction industry faces, we face challenges on a day-to-day basis. So challenges are not new to a construction company. And the toughest part is the challenges are quite unique in nature. So we will not have any references, our experiences will not help. Based on the situations, we have to come out of these challenges. To talk about the challenges, the biggest challenges we face with the construction industry is liquidity, is the cash flow. Basically, the construction industry operates with a margin of net profit. I'm talking about 5 to 7%, provided everything goes well. Out of this 5% margins which we make, 5% is being held as retention money itself, which will be released only after 1 year of the completion of the project. So basically, you can make out there's literally a cash flow problem. So in addition to all this, we need large number of labor force, which are primarily migrant laborers who have come from states like Bengal, Orissa, Bihar, Assam, and all these places. So managing them was always the biggest challenge. And of course, the labor laws and related issues were always a challenging aspect. In addition to this, there will be price escalations which will be happening during the course of execution of the project. Even though in some projects, basic price concept is for the major chunk of materials, the basic price concept is there. But sometimes there could be a huge escalation in the prices. So these are the challenges the pre-COVID situation probably we're facing. And the post-COVID or the present situation, the challenges are like, see, the labor force who are stranded in the projects are likely to go away to their native places immediately once the transportation system is back in place. And of course, again, we are back into the same old situation. Even though the economy was going a bit slow in the last financial year, we were almost, all of us in the construction industry, we were almost in the path of revival. And this COVID has really put us all back with more challenges. So these are the challenges we face. And of course, we are waiting for the supply chain to be established. Without, even though government has permitted us to start construction in the green zones, so we could start with maybe 50% of the projects. But having said that, we have a lot of practical issues in going forward. Whether it is to do with the staff moving to the projects, there are no proper clear instructions as of now. The instruction given by the government is projects projects which are having laborers staying within the project and the staff staying in the projects can be started. So wherein the staff normally doesn't stay within the project site, so they have moved to their houses. So especially the places, districts which are outside Bangalore, we're finding it difficult, and these are the challenges which we are facing.
You're able to hear me now? Now the next question, can I ask Madhukar ji?
Yeah, sure, sir. No problem.
Yeah. The thing is that now that we have heard the respected two panelists about the immediate challenges that the construction industry is facing, because as all of us know, construction industry is next to agriculture in terms of GDP, and many of the other industries are also dependent on construction industry. Now, in this context, we would like to hear from you, Mr. Madhukar, as to what are the immediate challenges that the construction industry is going to face now. Because, of course, one of the obvious impact is that most of the projects are going to get delayed. But apart from that, is there any other perspective to it? That is the number one. And a follow-up question to that also, like, is working from home an option to this industry, going forward? So these are the two major questions I think many of us would be having in mind. And we would like to.
Thank you, Anilji. I think first and foremost, I think it's wonderful to be part of this panel, wonderful to be part of this initiative by your company, Ramco, as well as wonderful to be representing ACCE. I'm privileged and honored to share the space with Mr. GURURAJ, whom I believe, like many others, like Tommy said, he's also a mentor to many of us. I think, thank you very much for that. And as a management consultant, as a project management consultant, we deal with construction projects in a very intimate way, literally on a brick and mortar level, on an everyday basis. So I consider the workers to be the foundation of our industry. Okay, the workers together, whether it's skilled worker, non-skilled workers, whether it is migrant worker, local workers, whatever it is, I consider them to be the foundation stone. Along with that is the frontline supervisors. These two guys form the core of our delivery. Come what may, you may talk whatever it is, but the end of the day, our project is dependent on supervision, our project is dependent on workers. These two people constitute about 90% of our workforce. And I'm really concerned at the efforts being made and at the concerned at the way the quarantining and the segregation has taken place in construction projects. Until now, I have inspected a lot of projects, a lot of workers' quarters, a lot of facilities where I find that adequate hygiene, adequate housekeeping, and adequate training of personnel is a challenge. So I would say going forward, I think this enforcement would become critical. Enforcement in terms of distancing, safe distancing, enforcement in terms of wearing masks, and things like segregation of workplaces, sequencing, resequencing the workplaces. I think these are going to be addressed very strictly. And secondly, The contractors, they're eager to start work. I understand that. The developers are eager to start work. I understand that. But I think we need to first and foremost put the house in order, audit the place where the workers are staying, make sure that they're following basic levels of norm, basic levels as advised by the government. And also when they come to the site, the temperature monitoring and distancing, hygiene is maintained. And also when our workers are prone to work in congested places, our workers are prone to work in very confined spaces, whether it is working in shafts, working in underground, working in basements, wherever it is, whether they are doing interior works, plastering. So there is a lot of congested spaces. And we should ensure that these people are not put too close to one another, perhaps reduce the productivity, reduce the extent of work, so that they are not too close to one another. The other point, I think at this point is, I'm worried at another point that I'm really worried is there are hundreds and thousands of small and medium contractors. It can be a contractor for your, unloading of your cement bags, contractor for reinforcement fixing, a contractor for carpentry, labor. It can be a labor contractor, material contractor, whatever. There are hundreds and thousands of that. They employ anywhere between one worker, two worker to hundreds of workers, as you all know. I think, this, I think, needs to be calibrated. The return back to normal must be calibrated, because it is too much to expect for all these workers to overnight get trained in hygiene, practice good, practices in terms of wearing the masks, which may be uncomfortable for them, training them on the impact of COVID, which does not have a vaccine as yet. I'm worried about that. When thousands and thousands of workers hit the street, I think these guys are semi-literate or illiterate, and they have very aspirational in nature. They have come from kilometers, thousands of kilometers to work here. I think it is our job, our responsibility as people to ensure that these guys are protected, educated, and repeatedly told and enforced to segregate the work and stay away from each other, not only at work site, also where they're staying. I think this is what I think we should do instead of rushing for a full-scale startup of activities. I'm sure I'm not going to make many people happy by this. I'm sure my developer friends or contractor friends are not happy. They're trying to hit the gun, run and start the project. But I think the social impact, the damage that would be caused if these workers get infected is humongous. The price that we have to pay for this is going to be very huge. And that is why I would say, let us have a calibrated approach. It may take 3 months, it may take 6 months for us to get onto track. It may take, maybe I may start with a 30% engagement, move up to 50, maybe move up to 75, watch the situation closely. This is what my take is. What is the worst that has happened is the rational thinking in all of us is affected because of this. We have become irrational. We think that, work has stopped, I need to go back to work, I'm losing revenue, my company is losing money, things like that. And I think that rationality, that human life is more important than anything else, I think it has to come back. For all I know, it could be you, it could be me. So I would feel that, the social impact of a mother, the husband, the father, the son, losing somebody in their family is too high, too much. I think we need to be answerable to that. And in addition, I think this is what is causing our entire industry would be blacklisted. This construction industry started, 5-6 lakh workers suddenly hit the roads, and suddenly the numbers spiked. Okay, I'm not a doomsday prophet. Okay, I'm not somebody who is telling that it's going to be the worst. But then, having seen the industry very closely, I believe we need to have a moderated approach. And the risk of stoppage of work is too much. The authorities would simply come and lock up the work site, lock up the spaces where the workers are staying, and another 14 days, 21 days, etc. I think this is what my take is, on the health part of it, I'm worried. We need to have a calculated, careful approach, is what I believe. And coming to your second question
From
on working from home. Yeah, second question, that is working from home. I think we have a lot of analogs from other industries. IT, BT, many other industries. They've been working from home, but our industry is not ready yet. We are not there yet, simply because our systems and processes are not tailored. Our metrics are not measurable. We don't have an impersonal or objective measurement criteria to check the productivity. And secondly, I think the other industries have been working from home for a long time. As Mr. Gururaj said, he had to hire the, laptops or PCs and, arrange the bandwidth increase, etc. So it takes time. You need software, you need hardware, you also need security systems, etc. And you need some investment. I think investment into these things. I think this is not what some of our companies would not be prepared at this time. They would like to watch. But however, it has thrown up a very interesting challenge to all of us, where we I think are set to go, but there is still a long way to go for that. There are challenges, like for example, work is assigned from home for an engineer who is staying in a PG or in a shared accommodation, and he starts working from there, and he carries certain confidential or proprietary information belonging to the developer or the contractor or supplier, whoever he belongs, and he is prone to share it either legitimately or illegitimately, or with his other roommates and friends who are also from the same industry but from different companies. It can be possible. So how would we ensure security of these confidential information belonging to one agency or the other? So these are some of the challenges. I think we need to address that. And I would say, let the industry evolve towards that. There may be some freelancing as a spin-off of this. That's well and good. But let the industry evolve for a large-scale implementation. Let us see that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a nice thing. Thank you, Mr. Madhukarji. You have, in fact, touched upon the various perspectives of the construction industry. How to balance between regulation, execution of the project, as well as getting things going. I think that is a very fine balance that we need to achieve, and that would be the immediate challenge that all the construction companies would be facing as of now. Thank you so much.
Anil, I think on the same coin, I have some doubt, which you may, and the same doubt is also expressed by some of the attendees. They have sent questions. Your group is in business, all over the country. You have business interests all over the country, and you're employing thousands of people. So how are you coping with these testing times? This is one of the people are also asking the questions, and I'm also curious to know about this. Can you please tell us how your group, which is a large employer of people across the country, how are you coping up?
In fact, that's a very valid question. In fact, if you look at the Ramco group itself, it's a very well-established group, started in the year 1960s. And one of our greatest pillars is that many of the employees working in the organization have spent quite a number of years in the organization. In fact, the organization takes care of the employees to such an extent that the average age of the employee in our organization should be somewhere around 20 to 25 years. And there would be people who have spent 30, 35 years in Ramco Cements itself. So that is the kind of, one loyalty that the employee is having towards the organization. That is first and foremost thing. I mean, dedication and commitment of the employees is one of our competitive advantages. Second thing is that in this immediate crisis, we can call it as a crisis, we can call it as a setback, because the things that have happened now is beyond our control. We could not control it, it just happened. So what we had done earlier is that we have a strong MIS system. The management information system is strong, and our IT system, in fact, in Ramco group itself, you will find Ramco Systems is our IT company, which is supporting us in all IT endeavors. So they have supported us, and in fact, it's easier for us now to work from home. Many of the employees, we are all working from home. In fact, our senior management is in touch with all the employees through the digital media, and we feel connected. That is the most important thing in this era. We must feel connected. We must not have that feeling of isolation. That is one of the challenges even Mr. Madhukar had expressed, because the feeling of isolation could in fact make us irrational. So the feeling of connectivity and the need of getting connected to all others, I think, would go a long way in boosting the morale. So that is one thing which we have been doing. And third and most important thing is that the way we communicate now has changed. It is through the virtual media. Now the virtual, this thing itself has become the human touch, because there is no other option now available. You cannot be sitting face to face and expressing our views. That has gone now. Now we have to change, because one of the most important challenges that we are facing is how do we change ourselves? How do we change the way we communicate? How do we change the way we express our views? I think that we are becoming comfortable, and we are getting used to that. And most importantly, the organization has made health as one of the most important criteria now, because given a choice between health and money in this era, I think in this health is the most important, because if all are healthy, I mean, everything else follows. That is the dictum that we are following. And even in our plants also, a lot of initiatives have gone in. Disinfection has taken place. A lot of activities has gone into ensuring that all the stakeholders who are associated with our group also benefit from it. In fact, the drivers, the medical checkup in our plants, everything is in full swing. So a combination of how we can ensure the health and well-being of our stakeholders is on our topmost criteria, and that is what our senior management has been following up. And I think that is taking us in good stand, and that is how we are managing as of now. So, and the training and development, most importantly, training and development online is going to take all of us, to a great extent, because all of us are used to having that conferences, workshops. Now let us switch over from physical conferences, workshop to online training and enrich ourselves, because if we are active, and if we use our brain to a certain extent, I think we are going to be much more energetic and enthusiastic. And that is the mantra all of us follow in our group. And that is how we are going on. Thank you for that.
Thank you about your company, your group, how it is coping up. I think the next question is, there are several questions in the chat box. I can see dozens of questions. If I can sum it up, I think one of the questions is for Mr. Gururaj. This is a summary of many questions by the chat attendees. They are asking us, what is your opinion on how the situation is going to pan out in the next 3 months or 6 months? How this thing is going to go on the next 3 to 6 months and beyond that, and how companies can prepare themselves for these evolving challenges. This is one of the, if I could sum up quite a few of the questions. People are concerned. People are concerned on what's going to happen. They're uncertain. So, Mr. Gururaj, can you please tell us how this is going to pan out, and what are the evolving challenges? How do we prepare ourselves?
Thank you, Mr. Madhukar. It's a very good question. I think the situation what we are in is very serious, and especially all industries put together. It is not only the financial commitments, but mainly of health, as all of you have pointed out. Yes, it is very unpredictable, because the virus spread all over the world is very, very unpredictable in nature, and it is in a very nascent stage where people are not able to either predict what happens next, or there is no solution to the virus itself. So even if we consider that one area is free and I want to work from that area, there are possibilities that other people might come in and start spreading without their knowledge. They would think that they're okay, but unfortunately, the virus is detected after 7 to 10 days of its incidents happening, and it takes that much of time or to first notice. But before that, I think probably they'll spread it to other people as well. So this is one thing which is very difficult to say. So there is no timeline as such, whether it is 3 months or 6 months, but you are starting on your own with all precautions, all necessary regulations which are to be followed, both in terms of sanitization, keeping the distance, and covering the mask, covering with the mask, etc., has to be done to protect in the office. And it is also complex that who has to start this, and what is the mental state of the mind who comes and says hello to you, whether you want to talk to him, you don't want to talk to him. There is certain of confidence that has to be built up, which in this case, it is not the person to person, it is the health to health, which is what is keeping people probably with circumcision, this one. So social distancing is a must, and the number of staffs which you want to encourage to come into the office should be minimal, and work from home is one of the options, major options, which we have to look into going further. So these are my few takes on the panning out of the present situation in the industry.
What about the timeline, sir? What do you think in the next 3 months, 1 year? What is it going to take? What's the
timeline? I would say, I think probably about 1 year to 2 years easily. It is not so easy to get out of this kind of circumstances which we are in. It is the confidence will has to get in, because unless and until there is a cure for that, unless and until there is some sort of a measure which says, okay, I can take care of it, the situation will not be the same as it was before March.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the candid response. I think this answered quite a few of the questions that our audience have been waiting to hear.
Correct.
Another important question, that I see repeated among many of the attendees is, in particular, I think this can be directed at Mr. Tom. In summary, they are saying that among all the entities in the industry, contractors are the ones with the most social impact. Having employers of, being the employers of thousands of workers and staff. And they want to know what actions can be taken by other companies, other contracting companies, smaller companies, and also you as a company. Mr. Tom, GINA is one of the largest construction company, local largest companies in Bangalore. What actions have you taken during this period, and also going forward? How do you? What is your take on that?
Thank you, Mr. Madhukar. It's a very valid question. In fact, when the lockdown started, in the first day itself, we formed a 10-member COVID team, and each team consists of around 2 members. And, we have asked them to visit all our projects, 15 odd projects, which are within Bangalore and outskirts of Bangalore, and a few districts like Hassan, Ramco, Shimoga, Mysore. So they visited these projects and had a one-to-one interaction with the labor force at projects. We had around 2,056 laborers stranded in our various projects. So it was a big challenge for us in front of us. So I had a meeting with the team, and on humanitarian grounds, I have decided on the first day itself that we'll be taking care of their food provisions and the medical care from the day one. So the second day itself, the finances were arranged. They were asked to go to the nearby provisions shops. Of course, we had to take the feedback from the laborers, because they are from different states. So what kind of food they would like to eat. So those requirements were taken, and then based on the requirement, the food was provided to all this 2,056 laborers even till today. And I also would like to add that I had approached Biocon Foundation through Mrs. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, and through her foundation, she has also supported us with food provisions. skilled laborers to cater almost a week. Almost 2 truckloads of materials were supplied from Biocon Foundation to Kiran Masundar, and I take this opportunity to thank her. And of course, food is one part of it. We had made sure that our team visits the other days and then had an interaction again with a portable speaker system. We were talking to them, asking them about their grievances, and some of them were worried about the payments. We made sure that the payments are released to them. We have sanitized the entire labor hutment area where these laborers were staying. We had provided them with masks, all 2056. Of course, we got few kits here and there from the government authorities, from the labor department, from disaster management, some from the health department. We have taken care of all these measures for the workers, and we are not laid off. I'm proud to say that we are not laid off even a single labor and even a staff, and we continue to take care of them. That is our motto and agenda, and I thank all the people who supported me in this attempt.
Thank you, Tom. I think it's wonderful to hear you talking. None of the workers have been affected, and you've taken reasonable steps to ensure that they are taken care. And also good to hear that in these testing times, Shaw Foundation has stepped in and helped you with that. I think that brings us to the social aspect of the whole thing. And I would like to ask Mr. Anil, what kind of support has your company given to the society in general during this time? And also, I would have a follow-up question to him. Do you see any disruption in your manufacturing process or your procedures, the supply chains, because you represent the manufacturing sector of our construction industry. We have tiles manufacturers, we have many kinds of industrial suppliers. You represent one of them. So I would like to know what is your social contribution, your company's social contribution, because Tom raised a very, very valid point, because this is all about society. This is all about the people that we are living with, So these two are, again, the manufacturing part, the disruption part is from the chat box. People are asking, how is it going to pan out? And the social part is my own question based on Tom's, I'm reacting to what Tom is saying. Can you please elaborate, sir?
Yeah, Madhukar sir, in fact, that's a very good question, because Ramco Group has always believed in corporate social responsibility, and during any type of crisis, we have stepped forward and we have done our bit, whatever we can do. So similar is the case with the present crisis also. What has been done is that, yes, we have been working with the district administrators, the Chief Minister's Relief Fund. In fact, we have contributed to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund of all the states, almost wherever we are operating. Like, say, for example, in Tamil Nadu, we have contributed to close to 2.5 crores to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund, then Kerala, then Odisha, West Bengal. Apart from contributing to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund, what we have done is that we have also arranged for the procurement of medical supplies. To say, for example, we have organized medical equipment supplies and gloves and those kind of things. The sanitizers to be transporters, all those kind of things. And there was a massive exercise that has been taken. We have procured materials from Palakkad, Coimbatore, Hyderabad, and then sent it to even to Odisha government as well, because they wanted to distribute to various medical colleges. So that is one major thing that we have done. And apart from this, at the micro level, what we have done is that wherever our plant is situated, we have helped the surrounding villages in terms of distribution of groceries and the essential items that need to be given. As Mr. Tom was rightly pointing out, the migrant laborers need to be supported. So what we have done in certain parts of Karnataka as well, we have gone to few pockets of places where migrant laborers are staying, and we have ensured that they get the daily necessities, the daily essentials are being distributed in such areas. So that is one of the major things that we have done. And as I was again stressing, the most important thing being the health of our stakeholders, say, for example, drivers and all that, and the medical checkup that is being done continuously, and the medical doctor certifying the drivers, that they are fit enough, and the temperature scanning, whatever things are being recommended by the government authorities, it is being followed. We are working as a team with them. And these are some of the major things that we have. In fact, we have PPE kits and all that has been distributed. And a number of masks and all that. So the thing is that we are trying to see how we can help them in terms of averting this crisis, and to ensure that all our workers are safe in the plant. And a lot of guidelines has been given. What should be done at the plant when you are working, and what needs to be done once the lockdown is eased. That preparation work is very important. Because if you see, if suppose suddenly, as one of the panelists was rightly pointing out, what if the lockdown is suddenly used and we have to work? So before that, we need to make the preparation. So that preparation is going on. In fact, guidelines have been issued. People have been educated what needs to be done. Crowding must not be encouraged, and how we should maintain social distancing and things like that. So guidelines and communication and practical things as to how it can be implemented is of the foremost criteria. So we have been doing a lot of things as part of our corporate social responsibility in terms of all those things that I have mentioned. And we have been getting encouraging responses also from, the thing that the kind of help that we have given to various sections of the society. So that has been a very encouraging response. So thank you, Mr. Madhukar. And one question which I would like to, is there anything, I would like to ask you one.
There was a question on the follow-up on the manufacturing industry. Is there any automation or innovation you expect as a result of this post-COVID situation?
Okay, right. The thing is that if you look at the cement industry itself, right from mining till packing, we have been able to introduce the latest technology that is available. Now, as far as automation or technology is concerned, already the latest technology is in place. Like say, for example, I was always giving the example of mining. Rather than going for blasting, you have surface miners, which is much more environmental friendly. And in terms of grinding of clinker, or for that matter, grinding of cement itself, we have the vertical roller mill, which takes care of the particle size distribution. That itself is a great technology in terms of the grinding of cement itself. So particle size distribution is one step ahead of the fineness. We see the fineness of cement, but how do we maintain the particle size distribution of cement? And the most important thing is that we have been able to understand the customer requirements. You would have seen that we do not advocate one type of cement. What we always advocate is the right product for right application, based on the concrete requirements, what can be done. So that is one thing that we have always been emphasizing on. So as far as technology and is concerned, we have the latest technology, because Indian cement industry itself, in terms of technology, we are way ahead of many of the countries. So in particular, Ramco cement has been able to take advantage of that, and we have the latest technology in place. And most importantly, we have the research and development center, because one thing that has been neglected, if you look at the countries, this thing itself is research on cement and concrete. We do not have many laboratories which is testing cement and concrete. You could see that sometimes we find it very challenging. So we have been able to establish the state-of-the-art research and development center, which also talks, conducts a lot of studies on durability. Because it is like the immunity now we are talking about, immunity of the human system is more important. So durability is something similar to immunity. How do we prolong the life of a concrete structure, and what needs to be done from the cement perspective is what being done at the research center. So we have a full-fledged research center. We have the latest equipment, and the kind of social responsibility that we are having, and taking care of employees, all are working in sync with each other. And so we are prepared for such a kind of, because what is important is that we cannot change the external circumstances. We can be prepared by ourselves. So what best can we do to prepare ourselves and to face the crisis is that we are looking at. So one more question which I would like to ask you, Mr. Madhukar, is one concern that we are having. I'm sure that many of the questions in the chat box is also looking at that. Is that most of them foresee a contraction in the industry. In the construction industry itself, there is a contraction, and they foresee that a contraction is going to happen. And being a project management consultant to many companies, and having executed and having exposure to so many projects, ranging from different types of projects you have experience with, I am sure that you would be able to throw light on this as to what kind of contraction are we looking at in construction industry, and what are the efforts that are being taken to avoid this. If you can throw some light on this, I think it would be beneficial for all the attendees. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think it's a very interesting question. It's something that that is on top of our mind, all our mind at this point. I think I would like to do justice to that question by touching upon a couple of aspects. Okay, insofar as the real numbers are concerned, there is nothing much to talk about. The GDP is down, the inflation is down, the interest rates are down, that the growth rates of literally every industry, the stock market, everything is down. Let us accept that. That's the fact. Then there is the support structure that we depend on. Like, for example, whether it's the airline industry, the hotel industry, the hospitality industry, the IT, BT, any of the industries that we are supporting, the industrial, automobile sector, everything is down currently. Okay. So insofar as private sector is concerned, I think the lesson that we need to take out of this is perhaps we need to relook at our expectation of return on investment. What is the return on investment that we were having a return on investment of 15 to 20% or even 25%. My take on this for developers is probably bring down your expectations of ROI, bring it down to the levels that the market can accept, and then push for sales. This is the way, this is the market for value buying. This is the market for value purchases, whether you are selling a goods or selling a service, or whether you are selling your product or a house or a commercial space. I think when the ROI's expectations come down, I think the prices will come down to reasonable levels. What the consumer thinks as value for money, that's more important, what the consumer thinks. And this in turn will probably kickstart the economy. This is a long shot. This takes time to, it's not easy to, let go of the inventory. There is a huge inventory. One of the big questions, many questions are asked in the chat box on the inventory. What are people going to do? The inventory cannot go away by itself. As we know, supply and demand, we need to increase the demand. You need to work on the supply side. The supply side, I think they need to relook at the ROI. One hope that I have for the industry is construction industry is a horizontal. It's not a vertical, unlike other sectors, like automobile industry, it's a vertical by itself. Like, hospitality, it's a vertical by itself. Whereas construction industry is a horizontal. Whether you are running an IT company, whether you're running a BT company, whether you're running a hotel, hospitality, you're running an airline, you're running an airport, you need us. Every industry needs us, literally. I mean, without exception, I should say. And the hope is when any part of the sector of this economy kicks up, I think there is some scope, some leading effect coming onto our industry. So let's say tomorrow hospitality, hotels kickstart. Then obviously they will increase capacities, and then they will build spaces, which will give work to our fraternity. I think that's the positiveness that I should take. Secondly, I think the thought process in me at this point is similar to that of globalization. Just like how countries have become so interdependent on each other, I think our sectors are also becoming more interdependent. We are dependent on the manufacturing sector, we are dependent on automobile sector, and the automobile sector is dependent on us. And so it's all connected. The healthcare, you need to increase the number of beds, you need to increase the number of hospitals, you need construction professionals. Right. So I think we can't take an ostrich view of, construction industry will recover by itself and get up and running and going. The risk being, we are a people-driven industry. We are, the 80-90% of our workforce are the people who are very fragile, who are very prone to these kind of diseases and, spread. That is the only risk that I would see. And the solution is in our hands, as Mr. GURURAJ also said, it's all in our hands. How do you enforce distancing? How do you enforce cleanliness in our people? This is the second part. The third part is, the government. Many people have asked in the chat box also, what is the government doing at this point and what we expect in the 6 to 12 months? I believe in the next, with my limited understanding of economics and the macroeconomic situation, I believe the government will be hard pressed to spend money on the health sector. It is hard pressed to spend money on the social sector, and also it is hard pressed to spend money on the public sector, where the skilling or employment of the large mass of people is concerned. I believe the big ticket items, big ticket projects will be out. They will instead concentrate on the projects that have a social impact, a larger social impact. I believe that would be the thing. And in terms of recovery, this is a repeated question. Many people have asked, what is your take on the recovery? Okay, I would say as a minimum, it should take about 3 to 6 months, absolutely minimum, because our industry is not only dependent on our industry. It is dependent on other industries, banking, finance, IT, so many industries we are dependent. So because of that, I'm reasonably confident, because we are a horizontal and we are not a vertical. I'm reasonably confident that the recovery in construction would be faster than the rest of the industry if we take care of our people issues. I think I'm reasonably confident about that. We need to follow social distancing. I can't repeat enough, okay? Because the solution is with us, the problem is also with us. The other industries will recover. They will give us an opportunity to help them grow, help them build their spaces and all that. The developers will figure out a way to offload their inventory. So this is my take on that. I think there is hope, because our industry is at the center of development of all the other industries. I think there is hope, is what I feel. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was a nice wrap up from you regarding this, what is going to happen. And you have again emphasized on taking care of the people first, to overcome this, avoid this crisis that we are facing. I think that is a fairly good insight, and that is what is being supported by many studies also, because the moment you take care of people, all other problems can be sorted out. So that was a very good one. Would you like to take up further questions with the other panelists now regarding?
I saw another question that is repeated in the channel chat is on. I think it can be directed at Mr. Gururaj. I think what they are asking, to sum it up, is now talking about how it pans out post-COVID to other professionals in the industry. There are many practicing engineers who are in the chat who are asking questions. How does it pan out to professionals in the construction industry? And what lessons, if I were to say, some of the things, what lessons or recommendation would you make to our practicing professionals? We talked about the contractors, we talked about the manufacturing sector. People are curious, Mr. Gururaj, to know about the fellow professionals. It can be architects, it can be consultants, it can be engineers. What is your advice? What is your way forward to them? Lessons, etc., that you would say.
Thanks, Madhukar. I think going forward, I think the first thing we should not do is to rush to the work. The moment I think the lockdown is removed, people definitely should not go down to the offices in hordes. The best way to do is, as a part of the company, as a part of going forward, is to minimize the number of people coming into the office. Start from 20 to 30% of the people coming into the office on a project basis, so that you attend to that. There is nothing that is going to fall down if all the people don't come to the office, because you have to establish a certain mode of working from home, so that some of them are occupied from home also to work for the projects which are assigned. The two things will happen there. One is you're following the rules by distancing the people, so that when you got 100 people working with you and 30 people come, they're already distanced. And then the hygiene which you have to follow, the norms, etc., should be the first step when they enter the office. The sanitization, the mask, and all the other necessities which are prescribed, temperature testing, etc. So this at least gives room for healthy working and minimizing the incidence of virus infection. Then work from home is a must. I think we all learned that this is not going to stop at this, and future works have to be done from home, wherein certain percentage of people can work from home for different projects and make it happen. To tell you frankly, work from home in the last 1 month, I would say, has produced more than what it would have been in the office. The major thing being the transportation, the commuting from home to office and office to back is consuming almost an average 1.5 hours to 3 hours per staff. And the amount of trauma he has to go through to get to the office or get back to home in the midst of the traffic and in the midst of the pollution is not producing anything, not producing the way in which it should be in the office. So this is a lesson for all of us, that we adopt to the technology, we adopt to the new situations, we come forward and understand how it works. Maybe we have to invest certain amount of money to make it work, but it is worth doing. And I would certainly encourage in my office that people should work from home at least once in or twice in a week, so that they take care of themselves, their families, and with no tension in their head, they can work. I have to present myself about my staff. In the ongoing process, they have given us very great support to make things happen. And even when we have mentioned that the situation is not good and we have got to, just presented ourselves with salary adjustments, they have come forward and they said, we are all with you, sir. Please go ahead and do. We want to be with you. Second is, we are not, as Mr. Tom said, that we are not firing anybody. We are trying to accommodate everybody to be with us, and the work will go on, maybe slowly. The most important part of it is how to run this without getting the cash. This will be the problem with all of us, including contractors, consultants, more project managers, and everybody in the line, including Ramco. So we are all in the same situation. How we encounter this is only to make a request, because I feel all the developers and all the people will be somehow supported by the government by giving some benefits to them, so which they can, at least 1% of it can be passed on to us. This is what I request all the developers who are viewing this webinar, to help the construction industry, to help the construction professionals as well. The next thing is avoid travel. Travel should be avoided in order to minimize the contacts, and most of the meetings should happen, in my opinion, with Skype, WebEx, Zoom, whatever you have. It is working wonderfully, and when it happens with international architects and international consultants to coordinate, it can happen within ourselves also. It's a new way of working, but then that should happen. I think in most of our engagements with the projects, with the architects team, with the consultants, with the project management team, this should work. I don't see why it should not work. So that traveling time is reduced, your concentration on the work improves, you can extend your timelines on the WebEx meetings, etc., to get what you want, because everybody can put their heads in a very passionate way to do the work. The next point which I see, which going forward, is we are having problems as of now, or even before, with the laborers, number of laborers. It's always a constant note coming from either the contractors or the project management team or anybody who is in the building industry, that we don't have laborers to get the work done on time. So I look forward in the future to going for steel structures, precast structures, and all kinds of hybrid structures where we minimize the number of laborers on the site. It is distributed. When you take steel, for example, steel is fabricated somewhere, brought into the site, and it's only an erection team, which are minimal in number. Similar is precast. So these are things which will come in. It costs money, but then this is a better solution than going in with the same way what we are doing. Going forward, I think this will be one of the things which will go through in future. Then there is what we call a construction technology, which also should include and should be brought into in the near future is robotics. Robotics in construction has not come up. It is in the initial stages in some part of the world, but it is not very much in vogue. It will be probably necessity going forward when you are doing complex structures and complex high-rise structures. Of course, artificial intelligence is one of the tools which will help in the industry, and civil engineers, we are not used to it. I think we should make use of this artificial intelligence to make things simpler, because most of the things are repeated and we have answers in the artificial intelligence system. So we should pick up that to make things better for the industry and more probably informative in terms of the things that is happening around and solutions brought out to do a particular kind of job. So these are my thought process, and I conclude that we all work safe and healthy from wherever you are.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a follow-up question from the chat. Many questions are being asked since you're talking about the professionals and all that. One of the questions they are asking repeatedly is, one, is there going to be employment opportunities in our sector for architects, consulting engineers, and the professionals? Number one. Number two, what do you foresee for young students who are coming out of colleges, people who are fresh into the thing? And a third question, which is also related but not connected, is do you see loss of employment to those members of our fraternity who are seniors, who got 30, 35 years of experience, people who are very seniors? You think they are going to be out of jobs? These three questions, related to human resources, human capital of our industry. What is your take on that, sir?
Yeah, good question to go forward. First of all, I don't see any job losses in the system. Probably there will be a salary adjustment would happen because of the situation we are in and the cash flow that is going to follow up. So I would see the projects are not going to die off because of this situation. It is definitely going to take off once the situation becomes normal. Maybe not the same way as we were before in the March last week, but definitely it is on a slower pace, but things will move on. This is human tendency. Human race is such, their brain to come over this situation and make things happen, because this is a challenge. A challenge has to be accepted. Challenge has to be, fulfilled, and that's the only way to go. We cannot just rest saying that, okay, oh, this has happened. Put your hand on your head and turn down. No, you got to face it. And this is the way to forward. Is maybe slow, but then you all overcome 2008 situation, which was worse in terms of financial this thing. But here, the government is supporting all of you to get over this situation by financial, packages, which will help. I think, I don't know how the consultants will get, or how the contractors will get, how the manufacturer will get. I think this is what we have to get into the government circles to know where we stand and how we get these funds. It is encouraging, definitely, and going forward, it is definitely a challenge to move to come to a pace where we were in before, and it will happen, definitely happen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that wonderful insight. We should go forward. We cannot let it, happen lying low. I understand that. Thank you very much. It's going to motivate a lot of us to, go for it. My next question, from the chat box and also from many of the people are having, it's to Mr. Tom. I think there are many small contractors who are part of this chat today. Small contractors, small suppliers, small companies that are involved in our profession. They have listed out a lot of questions. Some of the things I'll wrap up, and for brevity of time, I'll ask Tom about this. They're concerned about the time it takes to come back to normal. Of course, Mr. GURURAJ has been addressing that, and I also touched upon it. But I think from a contractor's perspective, Mr. Tom, what do you think is the timeline that it will take to come back? Number one. Number two is, they're all talking about a lot of challenges. You look at the chat, I'm sure you're also seeing the questions. They're asking about the delayed payment to contractors, delayed payment to suppliers, delayed completion time, cash flow management, migrant workers, whether they're going to come back, how are we going to, hygiene at site. So many questions are being asked. I think, what do you think is the way it is going to pan out for especially the smaller contractors? You are a reasonably big contractor, and hence, I suppose your challenges are very big. And for a smaller contractor, also the challenges faced by them are big for themselves. Every person has their own level of complexity and challenges. So I request you to share your views. How do these challenges of cash flow, your survival, everyday dal roti, how are you going to address this? What do you foresee?
Thank you, Mr. Madhukar, for the questions. I'll answer the first question. See, basically, this 40 days lockdown has the decision taken by the central government and the state of Karnataka has really helped to reduce the number of cases. But unless a vaccine has been developed, this is going to go on for some time. And how we are on the 33rd or 34th day, how this has helped is our government bodies have geared up to handle situations like this, an outbreak further. So what can happen is all of our village panchayat, the municipalities, corporations, they're all geared up. Our testing facilities have increased. They have earmarked a lot of hospitals to take care of patients. Ventilators capacities have been increased. So I don't think we need to really be panicked about this. According to me, a vaccine should be developed in next 8 to 10 months. So till such time, what will happen is lockdowns will continue only areas where it is being earmarked as hotspot, red zones. Or even, for example, we had few wards being cordoned off in Bangalore city. Like that, only isolated places this will happen, and the outbreak will be controlled by our government bodies. So according to me, in the third quarter, things should be better. I'm talking about from Jan to 2021 onwards. On the September 20 onwards, and the fourth quarter, definitely we can expect the normals. Coming to the challenges, the second question.
6 months, which is about 6 months from today.
6 months.
Okay.
And the situation will definitely change. Hopefully, the lockdown will be withdrawn on 3rd of May. Yes, we have challenges, especially construction industry. How can we move our labor force from one project to another project? Yes, we need a lot of support from the government. A lot of thought process should go. At the same time, we cannot compromise on this virus getting spread. That is very clear, whether businesses happens or not. First, we all have to survive. Then comes the business. So whatever steps the government is going to take, we all are bound to cooperate, and we are all there to cooperate and take corrective actions. Now, coming to the construction industry as a whole, whether you are a big company, whether you are a small company, your problem remains the same. You depend on a lot of migratory laborers. Once, as I already mentioned, once the transportation system is opened up, they are very likely to go back. So we could face acute shortage of laborers. So what we could do is we should have one-to-one meeting with our clients and our PMCs and work out a realistic schedule. That is most important. See, I don't think contracting companies will be able to perform like the past. A realistic schedule has to be worked out. Maybe I recommend that every contracting company represent to their client requesting for a force majeure clause to be taken care if it is applicable. As that is a second part. Of course, we need a lot of support from the government of India and probably the RBI. Maybe through different industrial bodies, we are requesting to them to represent to the government. For example, without additional collaterals, the additional overdraft facilities should be provided. Salaries maybe should be subsidized, including labor rations. In some states, the labor need not hold a ration card at state. They can walk into the ration shop and then provide their Aadhaar numbers, and the ration is being provided. Like that, many steps government can take. Of course, liquidity, as I mentioned, it is going to be the biggest challenge. We have to have communication with our clients. We have to make them understand the need of the hour. Unless they support, including the pending payments and the future payments, unless they support all the clients. In fact, I already mentioned in the beginning that we all operate with a 5% margin. So, and that is being held as a retention money. So we literally do not have cash flow to manage our projects. So we'll have to talk to our clients how we can get the support from them during this crisis. These are the probable steps we can take up during this crisis time. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. I think it answered more than half a dozen questions from the audience. I think they were all concerned about the small contractors, medium level contractors getting.
I would like to add one more point.
Yeah.
Thousands of crores of rupees cash is available in the Provident Fund, EPF, and also with the state government. If you talk about the labor cess and also in the ESI department, we will definitely already represented. We will continue to follow up. Government level, we should get support from all these funds. That is another important point I missed to speak about.
Okay, I think that's a very valid point. I think the labor cess that is being collected and the other types of instruments where the government is holding money or invested, I think that needs to be looked at. I think it's a very valid point. So, I think the next question, one of the next questions, what people are worried about in the chat is also on whether this is going to lead to price increase in the supply of materials, raw material supply, or whether it is going to lead to increase in rates, the delayed completion, slow completion, etc. They're asking, my question is to Mr. Anil, whether in your industry you foresee that the prices will go up because of this, the slowdown and all that, the delayed payments and all that?
You can do it.
Very difficult to predict, actually, because what is important is we are also dependent on the demand generation from the construction industry. So how the economics will play out in the future is something that remains to be seen. And even without a crisis also, it's very difficult. You would have seen in normal times as well, difficult to predict the prices of not only cement, for that matter, for any kind of raw materials that is being used in construction. it is very difficult to predict the prices as such. So I do not know, and I am really clueless about it, because it all depends on the demand generation. So that is what is more important. And as you all know, it is a supply demand equation that is being played out, because those things are, from the economics perspective, all of us know that it would lead to that. So it's very difficult to predict that. But one of the questions that was being asked in the chat box was relating to touching of cement bags, whether it is safe. That is one of the questions that has been asked in the chat box. And let me tell you that our packing operation is fully automated. And even if a person who loads the cement bags onto the truck, in case if it's a truck, bulkers, much safer. In trucks also, what is happening is that they are having those protective equipments which is being worn, when they have to arrange the bags. But as such, the packing machine is automated. It is a rotary packing machine, which doesn't need a lot of human touch. So there is no problem as far as touching of cement bag is concerned, because a lot of precaution is already being taken place. Even before the COVID itself, we have those kind of equipments in place for packing and transporting of those cement. So there's nothing to be worried about. Regarding the pH of this thing also, they have been asked. Of course, pH of concrete is very high. I do not know how it is going to play around with, somebody was asking about correlation of virus with pH of concrete, a very, very difficult correlation to have it. Of course, one thing is that pH of concrete is very high. It has to be beyond 13. It has to be alkaline. Alkaline environment has to be there as far as concrete is going on. So I think this is one of the things. And as I was listening to all the panelists, one thing that I could gather is there is a very positive approach towards this crisis, because the thing is that we need to find out what are the opportunities available and need to put our brains to think as to how it can be worked out. I think that is one of the positive approaches that this discussion has been able to generate. And many of the problems that also has been, there are a lot of solutions. Now, coming to one of the most important questions, Mr. Madhukar, I would also like to ask about the commercial impact of closures, idling, provisions of force majeure clause. What is your suggestion? This is one of the final questions to you. Apart from if there is any other questions in the chat box, I think how is it going to, turn out?
I also saw some questions in the chat box on the force majeure itself. This, I think, is a very interesting question. I think most of the construction projects are going to talk about this sooner or later, I think. And hence, this question is very appropriate. Coincidentally, I was going through quite a bit of construction contracts of various projects that we are doing in the last year, 1 month or so. I was going through many contracts, different formats, and my interest was on some of these provisions of these force majeure clauses. Coincidentally, it so happened. What I noticed, it started making me think. So some of the contracts, there is a very clear force majeure clause. That means in the event of an relevant event happening with which both the parties could not have foreseen, then there is a reasonable expectation of increased timelines. Some contracts talk about since we both were unaware, you get nothing, I get nothing kind of an approach. There was also another contract that talks about, I as a developer, I'm okay to give you some reasonable cost and expense if there is an unreasonable lockdown or a force majeure event. And in another contract, I was surprised to see that there was no force majeure clause at all in the contract. So I think so we need to go back to the books and see what the provisions of the contract between the developer and the contractor is, because it's not a generic thing, it's not an accepted fact or anything. It is to be seen in the context of that contract. Point number one. Point number two is there is always, regardless of the variant of the force majeure clause, the commonality is the contractor as a responsible person needs to give a written notice to the developer within, say, about 7 days or something of the event occurring, and telling him that, look here, these things have happened which I was not aware and neither were you. And hence I'm stopping the work and kindly look into payments for me or compensation. Point number one. Point number two, connected with that is the developer on his part has also got an obligation to write to him to say that, yes, look here, I received your notice and these are my views, written views, whether he's accepting that or not accepting, he's going to give extension of time or extension of some other relief, either in terms of compensating for the idle labor, idle machinery, idle equipment, whatever it is. So this is in a private domain between the two parties. Okay, this is what my take on that is at this point. Many people are asking questions on this. And secondly, in the current scenario, in the last 50 years or so, I have not seen any of these kind of situations. I have read quite a bit on this matter, on common law issues in UK court, issues in Indian courts, but nothing has been dealt with. It's such a prolonged lockdown, and prolonged lockdown affecting the entire industry. This has not happened. Okay, so that is for sure. I'm positive on that because I did some research on that earlier. Okay, it has not happened. So there is some hope for all of us that there is no hard and fast rule that okay, just because there is no clause I'm not going to entertain, or just because there is a clause I'm going to restrict myself to that. Okay, so there is no extreme view on that. I think I would recommend and I suggest, at this point I can only suggest a reconciliatory note by either parties, both the developer and the contractor. The contractor saying that, look here, I've lost money, I've lost my resources, at the same time I'm also feeding my the workers. The employer or the developer is saying, look here, my losses are several times yours. I'm losing revenue, I'm losing business opportunity, my sales are down, etc. So instead of taking a conflicting view, I think it's better for them to sit across the table, discuss each other's problems, and then come to some terms. And I believe the developer being in a fairly, don't hold me to that, fairly relatively better position, perhaps he can be a little bit more magnanimous, perhaps he can be a little bit more generous. I know my developer friends are not going to be happy. I think they should do some balancing for the good of the industry. Otherwise, these losses and these economic losses are going to snowball into something bigger, and it's going to lead to some social problems, which I think is not good for any of us, least of all the developers. It's not good if the industry goes for a tailspin because of this. I think it's not good for all of us. I think to sum up, I think my view is very simple. We have every right to make use of the resources of the society, whether it is people, whether it is money, whether it is machinery or government interventions. We have every right to make use of that, but we do not have any right to take away the life of a person, whether it is our worker, my colleague, myself, whatever. We do not have, as companies, as businesses, and as government, we do not have the right to take away a life because we are not having ROI, we are not having cash flows, we are not having adequate liquidity in our companies, whatever the reason. We cannot excuse ourselves, whether it is profits. We cannot excuse ourselves and put the life of the worker to risk. I think that is my sum total. I think we all need to put our heads together because the loss of life is immeasurable. To the families, as I said earlier, it's immense. So we need to be careful about that. In terms of legal implications of this, yes, there are going to be a lot of issues. There are going to be a lot of heated debates and heated arguments between the parties, between the contractors on the one side and the developers. And of course, we being stuck in the middle as PMCs and consultants, and I think there is going to be heated arguments. I see some reconciliatory efforts being made. I see a lot of reconciliatory efforts being made. I also see some arbitration coming up. But I don't think this will snowball into a full-fledged legal fight between parties. I don't think in the Indian context, at least Indian construction industry context, as I have seen it, this may not snowball into a full-fledged hundreds of cases going to the courts and all that. I think people are sensible. People are going to take a considered opinion of these things, a balanced view, and I think they will reconcile and discuss and come to terms with that. Okay, maybe you give up some, I give up some kind of a picture will emerge. This is my take.
Thank you, Mr. Madhukar. Yeah, please, sir.
Following up with the answers which you have given, what's the position of the consultants, architects, project managers in this kind of a situation? We don't have any clause like force majeure or anything. So where do we stand?
It's a very interesting question, something that affects me personally, you personally, our companies personally. I think I see that most of our contracts that we enter into with the developers are it's a fair deal contract. It does not have, it's a fair value contract. That means in fairness, I give this service to you. In return, in fairness, you give me back certain amount of money. This is what is a general clause if you sum it up. So with that kind of a general fair deal kind of a contract, and in the absence of this, probably the consultants, the architects, and our fraternity who practice as structural engineers, MEP consultants, etc., I think we need to approach our customers and talk to them in reasonableness and to see that, and we also should not be over ambitious, and, we should not take the thing opportunity and cover all other things. Perhaps if they can be reasonable enough to cover our costs of engagement, cover our costs to keep us afloat, that's the whole thing. We need to keep ourselves afloat, continue to provide the services. I think that reasonableness will come into picture. I think we need to discuss based on that. There is no.
I agree with what Mr. Madhukar is saying. Beyond arbitration, beyond litigation, I think all of us should look at how we can collaborate with each other, because collaboration is going to be the next in thing if all of us have to succeed. I think that's a very important point, because without collaboration, we are as a entire population we may sink. So I think collaboration is going to be the next in thing, and we Indians are better known for that. In terms of both ethical, moral values, and all that. I think we should be in a better position to avoid this crisis, and all the sectors together, I'm sure, will come up and do all this. And I think that we have exceeded the time limit, and by about 50 minutes. The discussion has gone, and I would just like to all of you to just wrap in maybe one or two sentences, so that most of the attendees who are there would also get a fair picture. And before I wrap up, let me also just inform all of you that this webinar series is going to be there on a daily basis till May 3rd. We have a galaxy of speakers ranging from from ferrocement to modern construction technologies to concrete mix design to make a durable concrete, and things like that. So we have a number of webinars lined up so that all of us are getting in touch with each other and enriching our knowledge. So Ramco Cements has been able to organize for all the speakers, and we have been able to get speakers who are expert in their own subjects and who would be interacting with the construction professionals. So with that, let me give opportunity to the other panelists to wrap up as to what would be your final say in one or two sentences, so that we wrap up the entire discussion for today. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Madhukar.
My final take on this is we have not seen the end of it. Okay, but that is what it is. We need to come to some realistic terms about this, and there is no vaccine as yet, and so we need to exercise restraint. I would say I will start talking opposite of what I always used to say. I used to say, bring in more resources, bring in more workers. Now I'm going to turn around and say, reduce the number of workers, reduce the number of fronts, take your own time to do, let us have social distancing, etc. on the one point. On the second point, when working from home, it's a glamorous subject. It's a topic that, it's got the imagination of the entire country right now, or the world. I see that there is a lot of training to be taken up by the companies, a lot of skill development has to happen. Then process and systems have to be reworked, rejigged to do that. It's an interesting concept. I think that throws up. Third one is a big thing is on the force majeure. Let's not litigate. Let us not get down to courts and etc. etc.
Right.
Let us exhaust all possibilities, whatever is practical, to make sure that everyone recovers back the money that they have put in. Everyone recovers their companies to put it on track. Everyone is fully motivated and charged back to contribute to the society and our industry, rather than allowing them to close down or to shut down shop or to retrench hundreds of thousands of people. That is not the solution. So on that positive note, I take views from all of you. It was a learning for me. The questions asked, it was a learning for me. I don't know how many people attended, but the point is, it's a very lesson learned for me. It's very uplifting, very positive. I thank all of you for giving me the opportunity. I thank Gururaj sir, I thank Tom sir and Anil sir for this opportunity to interact. Thank you all.
Any final thoughts from Mr. Thomas as far as wrapping up the session is concerned? Any one or two sentences that you would like to leave the viewers with?
I thank the viewers also. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I think it is mute.
Tom, what about Mr. Gururaj?
I can take
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I think he's on.
Yeah, please.
Going forward, we should go on a what we call phased manner, keeping health as one of the prime importance. And it is not going to end. The world is not going to end, but it's the way in which you take it up further. That is the most important thing. And I take along all my staff to be with me without any reduction in the numbers, but maybe they may have to go through the process of adjustment in the salary. But they've all been supportive, and I see that the whole industry does the same thing in the interest of the people who are working with you, who are supporting you and all that. So thanks to all the panelists.
Yeah.
Madhukar, Tommy, and very nice session which you had about that.
So thank you so much to all the panelists, and nice to see that all of you have taken time of your busy schedule, and we pray that the situation will come back to normal, and our prayers are there and I'm sure that all of you would also pray for the well-being of all the entire community as a whole, the entire professionals as a whole. So with those few words, I take leave of all of you. And even now, about 440 participants have already logged in spite of extending the session by under 1 hour. So it was really an interesting session. Thank you and all the best. Thanks a lot. So we take leave of all of you and leave them. Thank you so much.
Madhukar, thank you.
Thank you.